Sego. Welcome to the first lesson in the inaugural Ngwamwana Gunjokwa online course. Garakwa Ni'i. I'm Garakwa Hawi. I'm going to go over what this first lesson will cover. This lesson, like every lesson, begins with this lecture video. We then also have a handout, some Anki flashcards, a dialogue video and script, and each lesson will end off with a webinar before the start of the next lesson. And after lesson 6, there will be an oral test that you'll take online. So first of all, I want you to open up the document in your handout section called Unit 1, Lesson 1. So I'm going to go over this document, and for the first thing that you might notice is that there are a lot of accents and stress marks on the page. If you can print this page out, it'll be easier for you to follow along, or you can just follow along on the video as well. So for those of you who are more advanced than this, just bear with me. The course will get a little more complex as we go along. And for those of you who are beginners, I hope that this will help you with your pronunciation. So I'm going to talk about meanings and pronunciations at the same time. So first of all, I'm just going to zoom in on the words to help you see better. So the first word on our list is "ii." This means I or me. So you can see that we have this kind of accent here. Now I'm going to talk a bit about that accent. This accent is called a long stress. And we make that accent by first making an accent and we put it on a vowel, and it looks like that, and the long stress is followed by a colon here. So we know that this I makes a long E sound, so we say E. And in the word "ii," it's followed by an apostrophe, what looks like an apostrophe, and that's actually a glottal stop. Now, we use glottal stops in Ganyangeha all the time. We call them degawanyaks, which means to cut the sound in two. And in English, we actually use glottal stops a lot too. We just don't actually write them. And a glottal stop is where you stop the airflow for a tiny second. For example, in the word uh-oh, you can hear a little stop there. Uh-oh. So in Ganyangeha, we probably write it like this. Uh-oh. But we don't write it in English. So it's a sound that we're used to hearing in English, but we don't actually write. So get used to saying that when you actually see a digawanyaks. Our next word is ize, which means you. So we have a long stress again, followed by an S that makes a Z sound. In Ganyangeha, an S makes a Z sound when it's between two vowels. So we hear ize. Now, our next word is rauha. The R sound in Ganyangeha is the trickiest sound for second language speakers to pick up. It's kind of halfway between an R and an L with a bit of a D sound thrown in. It's similar to the Japanese R sound in case you've ever studied Japanese, and it's not the rolled R sound like in French. It's different. So we're going to practice saying it together right now. First of all, let's start off with the English R. Say ra, 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 ra. So notice your tongue kind of just is hanging out. It doesn't touch any part of your mouth really. It's a lot different in Ganyangeha. So to get that sound down, we're going to start off by practicing with the sound, the L sound. So say la, 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 la. Now I want you to notice that your tongue kind of hits the roof of your mouth right in the middle. La, 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 la. Now say the D sound. Da, 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 da. And notice that your tongue hits right behind your teeth. Now I want you to say them back to back. Say la, da, la, da. Do it a few times and notice that your tongue has a space sort of between the two positions. So try to make sure you have proper tongue placement and even exaggerate it a little bit. La, da, la, da. Now in Ganyangeha, when you say R, you kind of place your tongue right between those two positions. So we're going to practice saying rauha by practicing with the L sound first. Let's say lauha, lauha, lauha. Now practice it with a D sound, dauha, dauha, dauha. Now I want you to put your tongue right between those two positions. So you're going to end up with something that sounds like our R. Rauha, 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 rauha. It takes some practice, but you'll get used to it. Our next word, agaunha. That has a short stress on there. In Kanyageha, when there's more than one syllable in a word, we stress usually the second last syllable, agaunha. It takes a little while to tune your ear to hear where the stress falls in the word, but you get used to hearing there's a little bit more of a punch to the syllable that has the accent or the stress on it. Onka. This means who, so you can say something like onka nize, as in who are you. Sego. We use this word to mean hello, but the fundamental meaning doesn't mean hello. It actually means still. So some people say that we use that expression as though to mean you're still here, you still exist, kind of like an acknowledgement that you still get to see that person. And we have a long stress again. And just a note on this SH situation. In English, we use SH and we say shh. In Kanyageha, not the same at all. In Kanyageha, we see SH and we pronounce it as a pure H, as a pure S rather. So we say sego. And that's really important to notice. Now our next word is ga. This is the little word that we use to turn a sentence into a question. And I'll talk a bit more about that later in this lesson. Ha. This is our word for yes. There's only one syllable, so no accent. Skana go wa ga. Now this is an expression we use to mean how are you. Its fundamental meaning is not how are you. The word skana in Kanyageha means peace. And this goa part of the word means great. So this is kind of like asking somebody if they have the great peace. See our question word here. Ha, skana goa nuknize. Here's one way to answer that question. It means yes, I'm fine. And you? This nuknize part in English means and you. So you could add that on to any question and we'll learn more questions later on in the course. Ona gitwahi. This is the longer form of goodbye. We use that gitwahi part to sort of emphasize things. Ona, a shorter form of goodbye. So we have that long stress on there again. O nahoda. This means what, as in a question. Note on the word nahoda, we have an accent, but it goes the other way from the long stress. And this is called a falling tone. So in a falling tone, we have something to note there. It's a long sound again, but again, like the name infers, it kind of has a falling sound to it. So try it. Nahoda. And we'll talk more about why that's a different sound later on in the course. Gigang is the next word on our list, and that's our word for this, or this thing, or this one. Tiga, that's our word for that thing, or that one. And notice that the TH sound does not make the sound th or th like it does in English. It makes a t. Tiga, a hard T sound. Dahnu, that's our word for and. So if you can notice that there's a H sound right in the middle of the word there. In English, we say the sound H in the middle of a word all the time, but we never write them. In Kanyageha, we write H a lot. We write it every time you hear it. So we have to sort of get used to pronouncing the H whenever we see it. It's very important to notice that H sound. So practice saying dahnu without the H, and it sounds like this, danu. Now say it with the H, dahnu, and you can hear the difference there. Erha, that's our word for dog, and dagos, our word for cat. So there you have it. Not a huge list of vocabulary, and there's no verbs yet. You're going to learn a verb in the next lesson. But it's actually surprising how much you can do with just a little bit once you really understand how it all works. Now, the best way to study these words and commit them to memory is to use the Anki program. So you're going to need to download your Anki flashcards right here. And there's a video in the block here called How to Use Anki, and that's just a little tutorial to help you figure out how to use the program. It's an excellent program. One thing that you have to do when you are studying your flashcard deck is to, once you hear the word, all the pronunciation is included in the deck, so you'll hear all the proper pronunciation. When you hear a word pronounced, repeat it back. That way you get used to hearing it and saying it, which is really important. Also in this lesson block, there's a dialogue video and a script. This is where you can hear the vocabulary I just went over actually being used. And now I'm going to go over the script a little bit so I can explain some of the grammar rules that go along with that. So in part 1 of our dialogue script, you'll see Sego skanagowa ka ha skanagowa nuknize. Nize. Take a look at that. We have the word ize with a little n in front of it. What this n indicates is a short form for the particle ne. Now, the particle ne, this is a little word that we use in Ganyangeha all the time. It doesn't really have a meaning, it has a use. We use it to introduce information, so depending on the context, it can mean a lot of things. In the case of onka ne ize, it makes the sentence mean, who are you? But I would definitely not say that ne means are, because it can mean so many things. So I want you to notice, like we have in the dialogue, it says nize, and that n is short for ne, because when we can, we shorten it to be just nize when there's a vowel in the first word, so that it has a better flow. So ne ii also becomes nii. And in Ganyangeha sentence structure, in terms of forming a question, we always put the word ga second. And we use ga when we're asking a yes or no question. So skanagowa ga, see, that's the second word. We don't say ga skanagowa or throw some other words in there and say skanagowa blah 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 ga. Ga is always second. So, and another note, you don't use the word ga when you have a question word already in the sentence. Like, for example, unka. Unka is already a question, so you don't need to say unka ga nize. That's a common mistake for beginners. Same as in ohnahoda. Ohnahoda is already a question, so we don't say, for example, ohnahoda ga negiga. Ohnahoda is already a question, and it's not a yes or no question, so we don't need that ga in there. So part 3 of our dialogue script, we talk about the words this and that, and we're using the question what. Ohnahoda negiga. What is this? Dagos netiga. That's a cat. Now, this dialogue script as a whole is word for what is said in the dialogue video that is contained in the lesson block right down here at the bottom of your lesson block page. One thing that you should do while you're watching the dialogue video is see what you can pick out as you learn more of the words from your Anki deck. Keep studying, keep watching, and eventually you should be able to understand the whole video without following along with the script. And another important thing to do with the script is practice reading it out loud to yourself. This way you can practice getting a flow going to your speech. And remember, it's important to speak well. It's not important to speak fast. Remember your accents and the H's and stresses and your R sound, and you'll get your speech flow going. So you're well on your way. For those of you who are more advanced than this, it will get more complex, so thanks for your patience. And for those who are complete beginners, I hope this has been helpful. Sadewiyast, study. Onegiwahi.